Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maggie.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, how are y'all?
Hi, Sarah.
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if I should call you Hey Budget Girl or Hey Sarah. Do you have a preference?
I respond to both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is I actually thought your name was Go Budget Girl because that's what your handle is on Instagram. And then I was like, oh, you call yourself just Budget Girl. But I kind of always like the Go on the front.
Well, I thought of that back when I got Instagram like 6 years ago, and because Budget Girl was taken and that account has never been used. You have no idea how many times I've reached out.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Yeah. And so I had to think of something, and I'm like, Go Budget Girl sounds, like people are rooting me on.
Go Budget Girl. Yeah, that's why I liked it.
So I get that a lot just because I don't have the handle.
Maggie, can you do that again? Sarah, do you need like an intro jingle? Because I think Maggie was just starting.
Go Budget Girl. Yeah.
Nope,
I got a great voice if you want me to take a few more. It kind of just needs to get warmed up a little bit. Okay. So let me give a little bit of intro so our listeners know who we're talking to other than me singing Go Budget Girl. So Sarah Wilson, who is also known as Budget Girl, also known as Go Budget Girl. She is a YouTuber, debt destroyer, side hustler, financial wellness advocate, and baby real estate investor. By the way, I wouldn't call you a baby real estate investor. I think you might call yourself that, but I would not call you that. You're definitely like a teenager or like a young adult.
Maybe now that I have like 3 doors, I might consider myself preteen.
Yes.
It's hard to compare yourself with some of like the behemoths in this space, but I never want to have like more doors than I could go visit.
Count on your hands. Yeah. Sarah creates a ton of awesome free resources and content on how to live a frugal, fun, and fearless life, building wealth, creating income streams, and living your best life with the aid of a budget, regardless of your current income level. She is a trailblazer for transparency in the personal finance space online. She's documented all of her successes and challenges, paid off over $33,000 of student loans in just 3 years on, this is the best part, a tiny reporter's salary of $26,000 a year, sharing her exact budget, all her real life numbers, while also side hustling, negotiating for better pay and positions, and improving her frugal skills. Now she has 7 streams of income, a net worth of over $200,000, and is building wealth as a single woman still on an average income. She loves teaching others how to master their money and build the life they want at budgetgirl.com, which we'll put all of the resources in the show notes. And in addition to that intro, I'll give a quick confession. I've followed Sarah. It sounds creepy when I say followed Sarah online or Budget Girl online for a long time. And then I met her at FinCon last year and recognized her and just said a very brief hello and introduced myself. I think we actually even exchanged stickers.
It's on my water bottle. I put my favorite stickers on my water bottle. It's on my travel water bottle.
Nice. That's very exciting. I feel honored to have been given some real estate there. And so anyways, it was at FinCon. So it was great to meet you in person. And after, following you for a long time, we finally reached out to say like, you would be a great person to have on the show. So we really appreciate you coming on, and we're just excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Sarah, we're very excited to have you on the show, and we have a lot to get through. And I'm very excited to hear all about your side hustles, because you are really hustling with all these income streams. So I want to get into that. But we'd like to start all of our interviews asking about your childhood, because we find it interesting to hear kind of everyone's origin stories and how that has impacted their adult life and spending. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you were raised financially and how that has impacted your current views on money?
Absolutely. I love talking about this kind of stuff, not to like go dig into past trauma or anything like that. But I think a lot of what kind of shapes us permanently is on if we were taught about money as a kid or not. And I was not. I was never given like an allowance or anything like that. So I never really had an opportunity to really manage money. Any gifts I was given, like money gifts for birthdays and stuff, went somewhere that's supposedly like an account that I never got access to. I'm sure it just slipped minds or something like that. But we didn't talk about money. I kind of assumed that my parents would have been putting something aside for me for college. And then when it came time for college, I was sorely disappointed because we were pretty firmly middle class. My dad was military. My mom was stay at home. They were actually my grandparents. I was adopted by my grandparents. But it was kind of and now you're on your own. So, went to school, took out student loans. And, prior to that, my mom's favorite hobby was shopping. And so after school, some days on weekends, that was the activity we went and did together. She'd go to like TJ Maxx and buy 12 Royal Albert teapots because they were a good deal, and meaning to like give them as gifts or something. A little bit of like a low grade hoarder levels. And so I grew up as shopping is what you do when you have extra time and a little bit of money, which definitely curated how I spent my time and money in college. I even took out some extra loans to live off of. And I spent a lot of that at like discount stores and stuff. And I'd buy like random pieces of like bedding and homeware and stuff, and it wouldn't match and it wasn't curated. I was just looking for deals. And so it took me a long time to kind of unlearn bad shopping habits and money spending habits, and that wasn't the only way to spend my time. So that was a fun few years once I got out of college and kind of had to figure out, when I started making a plan for my money, how would be the best way to spend that to set up my life.
So that is so interesting. What shifted to take you from everything you just said to the fact that you are now budget girl, and you're known for being, incredibly frugal and creative and I'd say like disciplined with your money?
Thank you. I believe I am now. And the thing is, I feel like I was always quote unquote frugal because that's what my mom taught me is we hunt for deals. We go shopping.
You were at TJ Maxx, right?
Yeah.
So,
and we go places hunting for good deals, but that doesn't mean that those things necessarily like added to your life. You don't need things just because they're on sale. So that took me a second to learn. But the main change maker was I graduated college. I got a job making $24K a year as a newspaper reporter. And then I got laid off because they found someone who could do my job even cheaper than that. And I was on unemployment for about 5 months, and I was terrified, and I had been deferring my student loans, and they ballooned up by like $6,000. And I swore that I would never be that terrified about money again. Once I got a new job, I was going to figure out how to budget. I was going to figure out how to pay off my debt because it was very much like an out of control fear thing. I knew that I could like live if I got like a job waitressing or something, or a job but I wouldn't be able to pay off my debt on that. That would be very difficult. So I swore as soon as I got a new job, I would figure this money thing out. And that fear can be very motivating. And it did. It motivated me for the next 3 years as I paid off that debt and did everything I could to do it.
It's interesting to hear the just general kind of point in your life that made that shift, and that, like you said, gave you that fear that kind of, I don't know, gave you a kick in the butt, if you will. Were there certain like content creators and people you were following and influences that you were digesting during that time, and that kind of gave you some of the tools you needed, or was this all like self-taught and figured out?
So I had this spreadsheet budget that a college friend of mine had that I had seen. I was just like, that's kind of cool. Would you mind sharing that with me? And then I customized that. Other than that, I knew about Dave Ramsey. I had kind of like perused the Total Money Makeover. And when I found a new job and I moved to a new state and decided to start really focusing in on my money and paying off debt and everything like that, I started looking for resources. And on YouTube, there were only 3 content creators at the time. Of course, now there are, thousands, which is amazing because you can find someone that you relate to and is maybe in your same stage of life or that you can aspire to. But at the time, there was Debt is Dumb, which is no longer around, but it was a husband and wife, and they were paying off debt. And they had 3 kids. And there was His and Her Money, of course, Talent and Ty, who are fantastic and are still huge in this space. And then there was Frugal Debt-Free Life, who I'm very pleased I can now call a friend, Lydia. And these were all couples who were dual income. They had kids, and I couldn't really relate to them being single, low income, just me and my dog in a really terrible apartment in Louisiana. So I put my phone on a bunch of books and I started talking about my debt. And I just figured that if there wasn't anyone that I could get the resources from, maybe I could talk myself through it.
And that was that phone on some books was the beginning of Budget Girl on YouTube. Oh, that's so awesome.
So were you creating content as you were paying off your student loan debt?
Yes.
So I'm interested in, I think it's great that you share a lot of the specifics about your situation and a lot of the numbers. And I think people always love a good debt payoff story. Can you share with us some of the tactics and strategies that you employed to pay off that debt so quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working at a newspaper in Hammond, Louisiana, and I was making about $26K a year pre-tax. And so I picked up extra hours at work and I logged some overtime. I started doing secret shopping, and I did some dog training, and I did some buying things at yard sales and selling them online. I worked at Domino's for about a 6-month, not Domino's. I worked delivering pizzas for about a 6-month period at Hungry Howie's from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m., which was really unfortunate that nobody really tipped because that just did not end up being lucrative enough. I was really, really hustling, and it was so disappointing to be driving around at like 2 a.m. in the worst neighborhoods or even to the rich neighborhoods, and you don't get tipped. Like if you're getting your pizza delivered at 2 a.m., you should tip. Actually, you should tip regardless.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you might have people when you're in like a weird time shift for tips too of you just the people who are ordering a pizza at 2 a.m. Yeah. So I did that for a while. I picked up so many different jobs. And then after about a year of putting videos on YouTube, I started to make money from that actually, which was really, really cool. And I started to be able to monetize that as something, and it started to make more money than I was making with some of my other hustles. So I fueled a little bit more focus and attention into that, which was really, really wonderful.
That is a robust list of side hustles. That's really impressive.
That's only like the first year. I then moved for a better paying job to a tiny town in Arkansas and did more of the same. I did some writing online for a little bit of money here and there. I was starting to make more money on YouTube, but I picked up other odd jobs. It was great.
So let me ask you a question about that. You were on this mission, you had this fear that had motivated you to start paying off this debt and conducting these side hustles. Did you find that activity draining, or was it motivating because you were on a mission?
It was absolutely draining, but I kind of gamified it. So it was really fun to be able to see how much I could move the needle. When you're working with $1,600 a month, that's what I was bringing home. That's what my budget was then. And, after rent and utilities and a little bit of food and stuff like that, there's not a lot to move the needle, especially after that $300+ student loan payment. So trying to figure out what I could do each month to move it even a little bit, like a $10 move, a $5 move, was still a huge win because then I got to put that money towards debt at the end. So like I said, I started secret shopping, and Raising Cane's had a campaign for like a year, and I'm just now getting to where I can eat them again, but they'd pay me like $10 to go to Raising Cane's and count I'd order a meal that they told me to. I'd take a picture of it. I'd count the nuggets. I'd time how long it got to get out to me. They'd refund me for the food. So that was free eating out. And then they'd pay me on top of that. And that doesn't seem like much, $16, but that was an hour of my time. And that was an hour I wasn't spending, thinking about what position I was in. I was filling up my time with things that were making me money and helping me move the needle.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I know a lot of people are not fans of like the latte factor term, but that little stuff adds up, for everyone what I love about your story is, Mike and I I recently early retired, but we both have fairly high income corporate jobs, right? And I think sometimes that is very unapproachable to a teacher, to someone making a reporter's salary, et cetera. And I always, it's hard to say it when it's not me, it's coming from me, but I'm always reminding people, I'm like, it is not about the salary you make, right? It is about the difference between the salary you make and your cost of living, right? And it's about closing that gap, increasing that gap, I guess. And doing, something good with the money you're making. So paying off debt, investing, et cetera. And I love that you were able to make such progress on a small salary in a short period of time. And I love you were saying gamifying the side hustles and just the idea of making a little bit of money here. And say, even just like that meal that we don't have Raising Cane's here. I wasn't sure what that was until you explained the meal. It's like a fast food place.
Yeah, like a chicken place.
Okay. We have Chick-fil-A like that, I'm sure. But yeah, so it sounds like, just the idea of a little thing of being given a free meal and being paid money for that. Like that's a double win-win. And when you're, have the attitude of gamifying something.
And when you're on that low of a salary, you don't have a lot of eating out money. In fact, it was $10 a week. $10 a week, and I could save that to eat like a slightly nicer meal. There was a pizza place in town that did like alligator pizza, and they had these really amazing cheese sticks. And I would sometimes go like 2 weeks, and then I'd go treat myself there. So I was living very low income, and I was rewarding myself along the way, which was really important. And like I said, gamifying it to where I would fill my time with little things that could be a little bit fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. So speaking of really important, you just said alligator pizza. Was that the name of the place, or they put alligator on the pizza?
This was Louisiana. They put alligator sausage on the pizza. It's delicious.
Wow. That is fascinating. I've never even heard of it. Okay. So one of your passions, and this is a selfish question because I really want to like personally know the answer to this question. So one of your passions I know is thrifting at like garage sales, thrift stores, Facebook Marketplace. I saw the recent cheese ottoman that you procured. I love it. And I've always loved this. And like I said, I've recently early retired, and so I have more time on my hands. I just went to a thrift store yesterday with my husband and got some amazing deals. But the concept of like thrifting can be like a lot of work and overwhelming, right? Like you walk into a thrift store. I like 30 minutes in was like, I gotta get out of here. I can't. It's an overwhelming amount of stuff to look at and make a decision about and process and decide like all these things. So I would love for you to share kind of like your best tips and advice for just thrifting in general. Like, how do you do it well? How do you do it effectively? Right?
You go a lot.
Okay. So it's frequency.
I go a lot, and most of the time I don't buy anything.
Okay.
You shop with a list, and I'd say that anywhere, not just at thrift stores, but you need to know what you're looking out for and not just buy things because they're a great deal. Now, if you're shopping to resell, the rules are all very different. And I am not an expert at shopping to resell, though I did find like a stained glass horse thing a couple of months ago, and it was only $10. And I was like, stained glass is worth so much. I love stained glass. And I sold it for $50. Like I'll do a little flip here and there, but mostly I just shop for my own personal pleasure. I did outfit my entire short-term vacation camper with basically all thrifted finds. So I enjoy shopping, which is one of the things that was hard when I was paying off debt, because that is a form of entertainment to me. And so now I tend to shop for things like real estate and to then outfit things like the ag wagon, which is my camper. And I found vintage Texas stuff that fit inside this color and the theme. And you have to be very specific about what you want and be willing to walk away from it if it doesn't fit somehow. Just because it's at a thrift store and it probably won't be there the next time you go does not mean that it's necessarily a great deal. I bought, it's right in front of me because I literally went thrifting yesterday. I got a shirt for the Renaissance Festival that we're going to this fall at the thrift store yesterday. But I did make a frugal fail. I had a 20% off coupon because I donated some stuff and I forgot to use it. So I paid full thrift store price for this shirt. I'm beating myself up over it a little.
First off, that was actually quite helpful, because even when I was asking that, I was like, I'm not sure there's any magic to this. But just the frequency thing of just being willing. I sometimes, especially when I was working, I'm just busy. I pop into a thrift store once every 2 months and hope to find something magical, and it doesn't work that way. And so I love that advice, because it's simple and effective, I believe. But can I also share 2 really cool thrifting things with you that just happened yesterday?
Absolutely.
First off, since you have your shirt with you, I'm not sure why, because I just took these out of the dryer. I got these shorts yesterday. They're Lululemon shorts, 99 cents at a thrift store. And they're supposed to be cut off. That was like, you know how you like pay companies to cut your clothes off for you? That's how they came.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They were like one of my favorite colors. They're purple. And they're just like, to wear around the house. But so Greg and I went.
Maggie, you're living your best life.
I know.
Lululemon, that's a fine. This was $99. This was too much for a thrift store shirt. My Goodwill has gone insane.
Goodwill prices have gone crazy. We went to a thrift store yesterday in Atlanta. It's called Last Chance for any local listeners. It's in Decatur. And I hadn't been there in like 10 years, but I knew of it. I have a friend that goes there a lot. And it was amazing. The prices were like 99 cents, $1.99. The most expensive thing I saw was like $3.99. And they had the thing where it's like these 2 color price tags are 50% off. So like this was $2, but then it was 50% off the day we were there. And so the other fun thing is I know, like you were talking about, people who flip stuff from, like, they go and they buy stuff like that where they're like, I know I could resell that on Poshmark or eBay or something.
It's an excellent hustle.
Yeah, it's a name brand. There's people who do it. It's a lot of work though. It's not it's not a passive income situation. But when we were there yesterday, I found like a number of Nike shorts that were in really good shape. And they were most of them were like kids or like small women's for like my teenagers. And I bought like one pair that I knew would fit one of my younger kids, and she's less picky. And then for one of the teenagers, I was like, I don't know if she's going to like these. She's super picky. And I was like, but who cares? They're 99 cents. And so I was like, I'm not going to purposely, I was telling my husband, I was like, I'm not going to purposely flip this stuff because I don't have the time right now. But I was like, no skin off my back if she doesn't like these, because I can sell them on our neighborhood Facebook group for $5 in 30 seconds. Easy. And she didn't like them last night. Within 2 seconds, they were kind of too big on her. And I was like, I'm not going to hang on to them until they fit one of my other kids. I posted them on Facebook on the way to go have lunch with my mom today. Before I left my mom's, they had sold for $7.
That's awesome.
I was like, I just made $6. And those were 50 cents because they were 99 cents and half price. And I was like, I was like telling Greg, I was like, we have to go here like every once a week. We're going to this place. I was just so excited.
Yeah, I like the occasional flip. It pays for me to go shopping again. But that can be a huge job. But it can also be. I know people who have paid their way out of debt by flipping stuff, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel, and I get a lot of like negative feedback from it where people are like, no, you should leave stuff in thrift stores for people who need it. And it's like, do you have any idea the billions of pounds of stuff that goes through thrift stores? Like, this is a win for all parties. The thrift stores get their money. The person who's sourcing it and shipping it and listing it and all like that's getting a profit. And whoever's on the end gets an item for a discount that they didn't have to go find it themselves. I think it's a great side hustle. Yeah. If you have the time and the organizational skills. Both of those are important. Yeah.
Yeah. Very true. And a little bit of the like curating and picking stuff that it will actually resell. Right. I've done my Nike short experiment. So I now know anytime I'll pay 99 cents for a pair of Nike shorts.
You can try to flip them.
Yeah.
I think we're losing Mike, by the way.
I know. Mike heard thrift store and was just, I feel like your wife shops at thrift stores, doesn't she?
I go to thrift stores frequently and look for stuff and occasionally buy stuff. I'm just not as enthusiastic about it as you are.
As we are. Well, Speaking of you, Mike, yesterday there was a Columbia t-shirt, like not t-shirt, like short sleeve shirt. That's like, the kind of shirts you wear. They look like you're going fishing or something, but you're not. Okay. You're just going hiking. They had one 99 cents. It's like
Did
a
you
nice.
buy it for me?
It might have been in your size. I was
Why-
overwhelmed. I was hot and in a hurry at that point,
Why
So
would you tell me and then not have
I just
bought
let
it?
you know that they have stuff for you too, but next time.
Yes, but I already go there. I know that there is stuff for me.
Next time
Listen,
I'll call
if you find some great deal, just buy it for me. And then like your kids, I may or may
You're
not
right.
want
I
it.
could have
and then
resold.
you
You're
can
right.
Sell it for
And
more
then my
money on the
backup
mom
is.
exchange.
You're right.
We need to move on.
Okay.
My boyfriend's entire wardrobe is from like thrift stores and yard sales and stuff like that. Because Mike, I don't know if you know this, but men have it so freaking easy. Like the fact that you're the same size across brands, pretty much, and that it's just I know what size my boyfriend is. I can pick up any of that size, literally anywhere, any brand, and I know it'll fit him. And then he hasn't bought a shirt in 5 years because I've been able to find them for screaming deals places. So
I love it. Well, Mike, I'm not going to tell you
I am
that
aware of
Columbia
this.
shirt was also in your size, which is a size large, and I also know your size. I'm very sorry. I'll do better next time.
All right, let's move on to our next question. Sarah, you mentioned your rental properties during your
The ag wagon.
when you were shopping at the thrift stores to what's the term when you
Outfit,
decorate your rentals. This is one of your, I guess, newer side hustles, and I think one that's like really interesting to people. Maggie and I both have rental properties. There are so many great stories around it, and so I'm
I
interested.
followed all your ag wagon videos, but I was like loving them. When you were having like some crazy plumbing, just a lot of issues. It was like fascinating to watch.
So can you tell us about your rental property experiences and how you got into that?
Absolutely. So I actually met Mindy and Scott from Bigger Pockets at a FinCon, and they had me on the Bigger Pockets Money shows, one of their first season ones, and to talk about my debt payoff story. And they were kind of asking me what's next. And at that point, I had been so tunnel visioned towards paying off my debt and then just saving an emergency fund that I wasn't really sure. And I started looking into Bigger Pockets, and I got really interested in the idea of not paying rent. That was as someone who had spent the past 3.5 years trying to like finagle down every expense possible. I was like, if I didn't have to pay rent, that would be this huge chunk out of my budget. And once I started reading and looking more into real estate investing, I'm like, I never knew this, but real estate investing can actually be fairly accessible to moderate income people, and especially through things like house hacking. So the idea of just purchasing a home to then just funnel rent and other plus whatever else into wasn't actually that appealing to me. But the idea of purchasing a home that I could rent out and live in for free was just like a light bulb moment. And I got so excited about that. And I started looking into multifamily and, reading all of these stories about how people can do things like house hacking, and especially ethical landlording, which I think is incredibly important, is to not be a slumlord landlord. But I literally like live in the place I rent out. So it's going to be nice because I'm here. So I started looking into that and then saving up, and I bought a $230,000 duplex in College Station right as the pandemic started, which a lot of people told me was a stupid idea, but it turns out that was actually a really smart idea because now the house is worth over $300,000. And I rent out one side, I live in the other, and I actually rent out part of my side to my boyfriend Jacob, who pays me rent. And I now have a third door, kind of. I bought a vintage Holiday Rambler travel trailer and renovated it into a short-term rental, the Ag Wagon, and that is currently at an RV park while I am shopping for land to put it permanently.
I love it. And I love that you charge your boyfriend rent. And I'm not being sarcastic, by the way. I mean that seriously, of just that's like being able to have open financial conversations in a relationship and doing things that are pragmatic and realistic and fair and equitable, I think is super important.
It's a great deal for both of us. He gets a ton of space and a really good deal, and he has a lease. He pays less than he would anywhere else. I get help out with paying my mortgage. And we have a lot of financial conversations about it. So we had a sit down discussion about like, if something breaks, who's in charge of that? His one of the handles on his shower broke, and I had a plumber in earlier, and I'll be paying to get that shower fixed and the fixtures updated and everything like that, because that just kind of needs to be done eventually. So I might as well do it now. But I pay for anything that breaks. So the house, one side of the house had some flooding issues when we had really, really bad rains last year. And I had to put in a $6,000 drainage system. And also when the back room flooded, I had to pay to get new things in there. And it's not fair to him as someone who has no money in this house to have to pitch in for that type of expense. This is my house. But on the flip side of that, that means you got to pay rent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're building equity for the one who has to pay the, 6,000 in repairs.
Yeah. And so it's great. I really love it. And, we've talked about what we would do if we were to get married. But until then, if anything comes up, we just have an adult conversation about it, and it benefits both parties.
I like it. I think it's actually great practice for being in a longer term, right? Being married, and that is, you talk about him signing a lease, right? That's even more serious than a lease, right? And it's good if you can't have those sort of conversations. I know so many people that can't have those conversations with their partner, and I'm always like, that might be a sign. Like, it would worry me if you can't have those conversations early on in a relationship of, what happens when things get, more and more serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Money fights are one of the leading causes of divorce, and so. We've been very open about our finances since day one. And while I'm not willing to assume any of his debt or financial responsibilities, and vice versa, the same, we can support each other through that and help each other. And, we talk about the grocery budget pretty much every single week and how we split those expenses and who's going to pay for what. And I think it's part of having a really healthy financial foundation and therefore future.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Okay, let's talk more about the ag wagon and you talk through just kind of your general entrance into real estate. I know you've had some kind of, horror stories might be exaggerating, but it's not all unicorns and rainbows, right? And I use the term, I had not heard this term before. I'm guessing you didn't make this up, but of Airbnb bros.
I don't think I made that up, but I say it a lot.
But that sometimes a lot of people often selling a course in real estate and all have other strings attached to them, make it look like it's, just all easy. Like, oh, you just do, you just invest in real estate and it's magic. And it's hard work and there's ups and downs and it can be very, emotionally and financially taxing at times. And you got to be able to I always Rich and Regular always says when they were even getting out of the real estate game, you got to have the stomach for it, right? You got to be able to deal with it. So I'm just curious to hear about some of the experiences you've had so far, specifically in the short-term rental space, which I think I've heard less people talk about that.
Oh yeah. I guess we're just going into what I consider a personal pet peeve of mine on the internet. And I in my intro, you said, I've been talking about my finances very transparently since jump. And that was mostly because when I started, I was like, hey, I'm making $26,000 a year. I've got $33,000 in debt. Follow me, get out of debt. And a lot of people were like, you can't do that. And so I was like, here's my budget. And I started posting my budget every month. So you could see exactly where my money went and how I was getting out of debt. And I've kind of used that transparency to be like, I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing. And two, and I have been accused once or twice of faking budgets, but the amount of time that would take and energy, it's never mind, tangent. But a lot of times I see online, and we all have these people who are like, I made $15,000 a month doing Airbnb arbitrage. Yeah, I don't own anything. I don't own blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what are your expenses? Tell me right now what your expenses are for that. Because they never talk about the expenses associated with owning an Airbnb, and they're a lot higher than doing long-term rental. Short-term rental is not passive. It's one of the least passive things I have ever done in my life. You are constantly having to be alert and on your phone in case a guest messages you or asks a question on Airbnb or Vrbo apps. There's the constant churn of adding, putting amenities in and dispatching the cleaner and hoping that people didn't ruin your property. I've gotten more than one message being like, I locked myself out. I'm just going to break in. Okay. And I'm like, so yeah, there are these Airbnb bros that I call them. I think that they're kind of like the slightly more respectable college educated version of the crypto bros. And they just make these giant claims about how much money you can make on Airbnb. And they never, ever talk about the other flip side, which is how much it costs to run an Airbnb. So
yeah, or they say things like, in 2 years, I bought 50 properties and now it's all passive income. Like, how could you possibly have done that much work, you know?
Yeah,
so
there's
misleading.
like some partnerships in there. They're working with like, there's a whole bunch of stuff they're not telling you.
Would you like with all of the just reality that, like you said, it's not passive income, it's hard work and a lot of unpredictable stuff comes up. Would you still do it all over again? Like, are you still happy that you've done this?
I am very happy. First of all, I really love hosting and I love getting the experience of guests really loving this thing that I put so much work into and created. And I do have a longer term plan for it where it will eventually go onto a piece of property that it'll be like in a permanent placement where hopefully there will be like a couple of little Airbnbs there. So I can just make it a little bit easier on myself and lower my overall expenses. Cause that's my main issue right now is my expenses with the lot rent are just really too high for me to make that much money.
You'll have some like economies of scale if you have a few on one property. And I saw your video of looking at the, what you called the treehouse property, which again, back to your point on transparency, I loved at the end how you were like showing all the financials and you were like, look, this isn't really a great deal for me, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I always go through those numbers and I talk a lot about how in real estate, the numbers have to make sense as an investment, short-term and long-term. So I think I'll start adding those in to my property searches.
Okay. So speaking of a lot of work, like you were saying, short-term rentals are, you've talked about like all your different side hustles. You seem to be like working your tail off. You have you still have a full-time job too, right?
Yes.
And then you have all these side hustles. How do you prioritize your own self-care and kind of what learnings or advice do you have in this area for others who are just hustling, trying to pay off debt and, or just, be very entrepreneurial?
I actually consider myself kind of a lazy entrepreneur. I have days where I don't do anything and weekends where I just sometimes relax because I can't. And I also outsource a lot of things now. Back when I started, I was doing all my own editing, everything. Hell, I was putting out daily videos for a little while there, but now I outsource some of that. I have a VA who does my newsletter. I have a VA who does some of my video conversions to blog posts. I have a web person who deals with my website nightmares and a video editor. And it's incredibly helpful. And I have kind of decided to stick to the things that I know that I can do better for my business than anyone else. So I do all the social posting. I obviously shoot the videos and do kind of some of that back end type stuff. But it's important to not just do everything yourself. And I was trying for a while and it's just not really possible. In fact, if I could outsource some more of the stuff, I would probably be a lot better off, but I have too tight a hold on it. For the other stuff, I like to kind of get into things where I can kind of deal with them on the fly instead of like with YouTube, it requires a lot of planning. With the website, it requires a lot of planning. But real estate is a mostly on the fly job. So you figure out how to fit that into your schedule when something pops up. And I'm able to do that. I utilize my lunch breaks at work to do filming sometimes. A lot of times you guys see on my videos, I'm filming in my office, which I'm on my lunch break, so I can do what I want. And for some of the other side hustles, it's kind of as you go. I have been trying to kind of move more into some of the passive. So my Etsy shop has been really incredible as a passive income producer. And I want to create more of that. That's less of a weekly churn. And I'm in a very good position to where I can do that now, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love some of your printables. By the way, one of your favorite one. This was a free one that you did. Remember over the holidays? I can't remember what you called it, but I did it.
Christmas movie bingo?
Yeah, it was Christmas movie. Because I like one of our family things is we love watching cheesy, like bad B/C rate Hallmarkish. Now they're like all over Netflix and Amazon Prime. There's so many to choose from. And she made up like a bingo card of like all the just cliche, stereotypical scenes that you'll see in all of these cheesy holiday movies. And it was great.
I really enjoy those. That was just like a personal thing that I was just like, this has nothing to do with money. This is just I really liked watching terrible movies, and that added a level of fun to it.
Yeah. I would argue you could say it does have to do with money, because it's one of the like free and frugal things I do. Yeah. You know, we enjoy it. We're already paying for these services.
It's a fun way to bond with friends. Like Jacob and I, my partner and I would play, but also my friend who lives in California and I played a couple of times. And so we used to watch movies with each other and just like chat over Facebook, but doing the games added just kind of a level of fun to that.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to transition from holiday movie bingo to our next question, but let me say this. Sarah, I think it is incredibly inspiring how hard you work in so many different things to find success. And the fact that you have, kept with it and tried so many different things and found success, and now with all of your content creation also have amassed quite a large following, is like very cool. So congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
So one last question for you. If we were to give you a billboard, you may have heard this kind of standard question before. If we were to give you a billboard, what message would you put on it to share with the world?
Ooh.
Take as long as you need. We will cut out all of the blank space and give you your answer.
I think it's going to have to do with a cheese omelet.
That is one of like my thrift finds of my life, probably. It was only $10. Did you know it was only $10?
Yeah, you said, I don't remember if I saw that on Instagram or on a video. I think it was on Instagram. It was when you were talking about purging. You're like angry declutter. Not angry. What'd you call it? You're
a chaotic decluttering rage or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then I bring it to Goodwill, and then they give me the 20% off coupon, and it's the never ending cycle of.
I like it.
See, on a billboard, I would like it to be personal finance related and helpful, because those are the core of my brand. You master what you monitor. Make a budget.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it. We often say what gets measured gets better, but I like you master what you monitor. It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, I like that better.
Nice alliteration.
Thank you. I was a journalist.
Nice. Bring it all around. Okay. So like Mike said, yeah, I've always been very impressed with you. And I love the content you're putting out and just the message you're sharing. And I think the world needs more people like you sharing those messages of just what matters in this world and what's important and how people can live.
Well, thank you. Very quickly, I realized I missed an opportunity. It should be get a free budget at budgetgirl.com because it's a billboard and the point of a billboard is advertisement. So I would want them to direct traffic to me.
True. Well, in this case,
you get two.
Yeah. In this case, you get one that's sort of like your change the world message, and then one that's like your marketing.
Oh, okay.
So
I can't just add a little note on the bottom. So
no. You're right. You could put a call to action at the bottom. I think a call to action to get started. Oh, I
like that. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. And then hashtag Airbnb bros. Okay. We will not really count this even as a question, but what is the best place for people to find you if they want to learn more?
So I have a ton of free resources at budgetgirl.com, and that is a really great place to get started if you don't just want to be dropped in on like a random assortment of videos where I'm going yard sailing or looking at a house or, redoing a trailer. That can be a little, let's go with chaotic again. So budgetgirl.com has a ton of free printables like the Christmas movie bingo and things that can help you get started or keep you motivated on your money journey. And of course, youtube.com/budgetgirl is where I have over 700 videos of me working my way out of debt and now building wealth.
That's awesome. We will put links in the show notes to those resources. And all of your other resources. You also have, what I love is you have a YouTube playlist of kind of a money's beginner playlist where you have a curated selection of some of those 700 videos. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Or if you're just getting started, that'll help.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And it was great. I selfishly love these interviews because we just get a chance to meet some cool, like-minded people. And I learned that thrifting tip. I mean, it seems little, but like that thing of just, it's a frequency play.
Absolutely.
Right. Of just go often and don't feel like you walk out of there empty handed.
No, you have to get over that where you're like, if you find something that's like a maybe, put it down. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been a pleasure. And yeah, we'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
Bye, Mike. Bye, Sarah.
So thanks everybody for listening. If you've been challenged or inspired by what you've heard, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode.
If you have any thoughts or questions, we would love to hear from you, and you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram.